Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for Empowered for Balance. This is Brew, your life balance strategist, and I'm so happy you're joining us today. And today, have you ever struggled with sugar and carbs? Have you ever gotten to the point where you just can't control how much sugar you eat or how much carbs, let me say, unhealthy carbs that you take in? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And today I have Melissa Rohlfs joining us, and she's an expert in that. And she's going to, give us information about what sugar addiction is, or unhealthy eating, or unhealthy carb addiction is, how it happens, and how we can move past it. I believe that this information is very necessary. And so please stick with us till the end. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Just click the subscribe button so that every week when we upload a new video, you will get the notification and then you don't miss out on any of the information that we have for you. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Alma, how are you?
I am great, and I'm happy to have you join us today. I do know who you are, but you tell us who you are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and share with you. I'm Melissa Rohlfs, as you said, and I'm a holistic health and life coach, and I help women break free from sugar and stress eating so they can be calm, confident, and in control, because I wasn't. I was very much addicted to sugar, as you touched on a little bit, and was using it to cope with stress and overwhelm and frustration. Primarily when we had our kids. I've got a 12-year-old daughter now and a 10-year-old son. And my husband, we've been married for 17 years, and it's not always easy to be the one that everybody needs all of the time. So that's why I'm here, and that's what I do to help other women who are where I was, because that was my comfort. It was how I dealt with the emotions that I didn't know how to handle and what to do with them. So coming
Yeah.
to you from Arizona, which is warm and sunny most of
I
the time.
know, right? It's so cold here. Yeah, because I know it's like 70 degrees over there, right?
Yeah, but it's so
Oh,
weird because right now in the mornings it's cold, but then it warms up during the day. So the
yeah.
dressing is like, ah.
Wow. And it's so cold up here, seriously. That's the only thing I don't like about up here, because it gets really cold sometimes.
Yes, those winters.
Mm. All right. So sugar addiction and stress eating. What is it? First of all, let's create some form of a background. What is it at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, and I think a lot of people, especially women who, like you said, are high performers, and we're maybe wives and moms, and we're in the church, and we have this expectation that we're not going to maybe handle our stress through alcohol or drugs, but maybe we'll turn to other things, because this is what I did to kind of numb those feelings. And so for
Mm,
me, it was sugar, because it's legal. It was not judged. It wasn't criticized. It wasn't,
mm,
something that would cause me to get into an accident if I were driving. Like, it just was more conducive to being a Christian stay-at-home mom, to be honest with you.
yeah.
So for me, it was my comfort. But looking back, Alma, I can see even in my childhood, like, it was my go-to. It was how my parents rewarded me. It was what I would sneak into my room when I was struggling at school, and I would soothe with that. It's just been this constant thing in my life that I felt that I needed to have, because I was so out of sorts internally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you raise a very good point here, especially as women of faith and as Christian women, because we've been told that yes, maybe the smoking is bad, alcohol is bad, drugs are bad, but nobody tells you sugar is bad. So
No.
it becomes the drug of choice. And it's kind of like, oh, that's the dignified one in quote.
And we
What
give it out. I mean,
Yeah,
we toss it at kids at parades, it's at church, it's at school, it's all the places.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's acceptable.
Yep, yep, yep. So let's unpack this a little bit, because I'm seeing a lot of things here. Feelings play here, stress plays here, comfort plays here. So I want us to explore this a little bit deeper, just so that the audience can really understand what we're talking about. When you talk about coping, what happens when we are coping with sugar? What goes on there? What's the whole process like?
So from like a scientific standpoint, if you will, I guess it's really interesting because our bodies are amazing. Like the way that God designed our bodies are incredible, and they're always seeking to balance themselves out, and they're trying to make us feel safe and
Mm,
accepted, and they're really so incredible. And I didn't realize how incredible they were until I went to school, but they're always trying to balance us out. So when you
mm,
have sugar or a lot of carbs, something that
yep.
will raise your blood sugar, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
ride that roller coaster. And so you'll experience the, energy and the excitement, and then it kind of wears off. And your body in that place when you're here at the bottom of the roller coaster is looking for more energy. And so it's trying to balance itself out. So it will grab what's available. And usually it's more sugar because it's readily available, it's
Yep.
quick, it's easy. I mean, it's a little more work to cut an apple. So when we're in that place, we just want the quick fix because our body's looking for the balance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you mentioned balance. What is our body trying to balance here? If I may ask.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely. The blood sugar levels, because that impacts your mood, it
Mm,
impacts your hormones, it impacts the insulin, and
mm,
it impacts so many systems in our body. And I think a lot of times we only associate it with weight, right? Like
yeah,
food and weight, that's a big connection. But I think we can take it a little bit further and look at the impact that food has on mood, because when you're on that blood sugar roller coaster, you might feel anxious, you
yeah,
might feel stressed, you might shake. I mean, your body is always talking to you
mm,
and trying to communicate, but I think we
yeah,
haven't taught how to listen to it or what it means. So if we
mm,
can step back and learn how to listen to our bodies, it's really powerful. Because I rode the blood sugar roller coaster for years, and I just thought I was becoming like a really angry, crabby person around 3 o'clock every day. I didn't know that it was because I wasn't eating enough.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. So for the woman out there who, is stressed out, has a lot of things going on, because I work a lot with women who are busy, who have a lot on their plate, who have so many things to do. How can we prevent ourselves from coping with sugar?
That's a good question. And I'm a really big proponent, Amma, of getting to the root of the problem. Because usually for me, my underlying issue was trauma, and I didn't know how to handle these things that were life. I mean, a child crying coming at me would trigger me because I hadn't worked through my trauma.
Yeah,
So I think it's important to identify the root of why the behavior is happening. And instead of changing the behavior, maybe with a diet or an exercise plan, really get to the root of the behavior and
yeah.
say, why am I doing this? What's really going on? And
Mm,
work through it from that approach.
mm, 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 mm. So if I understand you, then it's more of like dealing with past hurts and trauma and emotions and things like that that could be triggering you in the present.
Absolutely. It can be. It's not for everybody. I have a woman that I worked with, and she ate sugar when she was lonely. So for her to
Mm,
have that awareness was really powerful because she could look at her family schedule and know when she was going to be alone, and she could plan something during that time so that she wouldn't eat the sugar in those times of loneliness. So I think if
yeah,
you create that awareness around the behavior, whether it's, working through past hurts like it was for me, or being lonely like it was for the woman I worked with, it's just
yeah.
figuring out what that is.
What that is, yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. But I want us to, go back a little bit because there are people who are able to control their sugar. So I know somebody who she can have chocolate when she wants to. She can tell herself, I'm having just two little squares and I'm good. It doesn't do anything to her. And the people that, okay, I'm gonna have two squares, and by the time you realize I've had the whole package.
That was me.
So, so I want us to kind of like create a bit of an understanding here, because there are two different things here. So what are the characteristics, or what will make a person know that they do have a problem when it comes to sugar and carbs?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one thing is to look at your mood. I think that's a really indicative of what's going on. I think, if you're noticing a pattern and you are it's not just a bad day or just like something happened that's upsetting you, but if you can pick out a pattern of, okay, for the last 5 days around 4 o'clock, I have just been really crabby, or I've been really tired and I'm
Mm,
curled up on the couch in fetal position because I'm exhausted. That can be something. I think there are other factors that can be at play, like
hmm.
brain fog. That's a big
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Energy is another one. I kind of alluded to that. Um, and I think just how you feel, because sugar can also cause inflammation, and
yeah.
that's just feeling uncomfortable in our skin. So I think there's a lot of ways we can figure out if we're having too much. Some women, either this might be TMI, but they will get candida, which is yeast. So if you have a lot of yeast infections, that can be a sign as well.
Wow.
Oh,
This is very eye-opening, and I like what we're talking about, because these are like practical stuff that usually we don't really talk about. But I believe that a lot of us women also deal with it, especially being our coping, being a coping mechanism for us, because sometimes we would turn to the sugar instead of dealing with the emotion or dealing with whatever it is that's bothering us. And one thing that I usually say is that sometimes we're using these things to numb ourselves. All of us, I say, all of us have our little things that we use, to numb ourselves. And instead of us facing whatever it is that we are dealing with and letting it go, we just end up, keep doing the sugar or keep doing that thing. And I always say, even if it's a movies and you overdo it just to numb your emotion, it is still an addiction in a way, So I think that this is very, very important. And it's something that we really need to address as women of faith, because it goes a long way to affect so many things in our health, So,
Our
yeah,
bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. I mean, the word is
exactly.
so clear about that. And I think when I realized, oh my gosh, the sugar and carbs are making me feel like gross. And I
Yeah.
didn't have the awareness. So I
Mm.
think even having that awareness to identify how foods make you feel is really powerful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So now let's go to, strategies. How can we, as women, who are stressed out and are coping with sugar and are dependent on sugar for that comfort, or even not necessarily sugar, but even the carbs or anything
Mhm.
that's unhealthy,
Yeah.
how can we, move from that place to a better place?
Yeah, I think the first step is to really become aware of where your relationship is with food, because I think a lot of us think, again, food is connected to weight loss.
Yeah.
And we think, okay, I don't want to lose weight, or I don't need to lose weight, or I want to, but it's too hard. But I think the best thing we can do is get curious and say, where is my relationship with food? Am I
Mm,
the temple of the Holy Spirit? Am I using it to be healthy and energetic and live the life God called me to? Or am I
mm,
using it for something other than that? Whether
mm,
it's stress eating or emotional eating or stuffing your feelings like I used to do. But I think really getting curious about what's your relationship like with food, because nobody talks about that. I mean, very
yeah.
rarely is it, how's your relationship with food?
Yeah. Mm, And then what else? What are some of the things that you do with your clients, to help them get past, all that? We want some practical, things that we could do.
Yeah, I think the big thing really to do is, after you've created awareness, is to get curious. I think a lot of times we will judge ourselves and we will criticize ourselves. And I know I would eat a whole pan of brownies and then I would get into the shame cycle and the guilt. And if I could have replaced that judgment that I was having towards myself with curiosity and stepped
Mm,
back and say, okay, Melissa, why did you eat the whole pan of brownies? What's going on? That would have really changed things earlier on for me, but I didn't know that because it was just
yeah.
the judgment and the shame cycle. So I think if you can replace the judgment with curiosity, that's super powerful.
Mm, mm. So that instead of, being so hard on ourselves, we try to dig deeper to figure out what it is that's going on.
Because there's
Wow.
usually something going on. And again,
Yeah.
bodies are our greatest messenger, and they're telling us, but we
Mm,
just haven't been taught to tune into them. And
mm,
it sounds really weird, probably if you're not used to that, but once you can identify it, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm, feeling shaky because I'm hungry, or
yeah.
oh, I just snapped at my kids because my blood sugar's low and I probably need to eat something because it's been 6 hours.
Mm. Yeah. So if I understand you, then it means that, like being aware of what we are eating and how much we're eating also helps this, because if we are hungry and we're not conscious of ourselves, then we're just going to grab for just anything in our way just because we want to feel good, when in reality maybe we may be hungry. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the same goes with grocery shopping. Don't grocery shop when you're hungry because you'll buy everything.
Yeah. 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 How about hydration? Does hydration play here?
Absolutely. Hydration is huge because a lot of times we think that we're hungry, but we're actually dehydrated. So, another great tip, and I'm glad you brought that up, is to drink a glass of water and wait 5 minutes and see how you're feeling. If you feel like you have a craving, maybe see if you're dehydrated and drink a glass of water, wait a few minutes and see how you feel. Because a lot of times we can mistake the the feeling of thirst or dehydration for hunger.
Yeah, that is true. So usually with the women that you work with, how do you work with them? What process? Because I know that different, that there are 12-step programs and other theories out there of how we can overcome sugar addictions and carb addictions. But how do you work with your clients?
I really work with them to help them learn to listen to their bodies. I think that's a big thing, and really identify the root of why they're turning to sugar.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of times we don't know. We're so busy and we're going through the motions of life and we're fast paced. And I think sometimes it's helpful to have an outside perspective come in and ask us the hard questions because we're so used to doing things our own way. But if an
Hmm.
outside perspective can come and ask us
Yeah.
questions, and
Hmm.
help us figure out what's going on in our hearts instead of telling us what to do,
Yep.
that's really powerful. So it's really, asking questions, helping women learn to identify what their cravings are, how to listen to their body, how to replace the judgment with curiosity and find what works for them because we're different. God made us all different, and what works for
Mhm.
one doesn't work for all.
Yeah. 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 So for the woman, I just want to give a little bit of a practical thing, because for the woman out there who is COVID-19 is happening and she needs to homeschool her kids, she's trying to work from home, and there's so much on the news which is causing her emotional highs and lows, and she's tense and she's stressed out, and she can't even go out to places that she used to go to, and she can't even go for a walk because she's scared of getting COVID and she's stuck at home. There's so
Mhm.
much going on. And so all she does is to go to the fridge and open the fridge and grab whatever is in there. She keeps going, and, the fridge is her best friend now. For a woman like that, what would you tell her, or what strategies or ideas would you give her to allow her to, you know, overcome where she's at that point, and not cope with the sugar and the carbs and those things, but figure out a better way of coping?
Yeah, and that's a great question because it's very real right now for so
Yeah.
many women.
Yep.
Because I think if we could articulate our feelings on that, I think there's a sense of grief
Mm,
and a sense of loss because we are missing the routine. We are missing the normalcy. We are missing things as they were. We are missing the things that we used to have and be able to do.
yeah.
And
Mm,
I think as a society, we don't handle grief the best. I've lost two dads before I was 40. My mom remarried, so that's where the two dads came in. But like I know the grief journey well, and I think we as a society don't know how to handle it very well. So
yeah.
my encouragement for that woman is to allow yourself to feel all of the feelings and know that feelings aren't good or bad. They're not right or wrong. They're feelings. And I think we need to allow ourselves to feel all of those feelings and process them, whether it's journaling, whether it's praying,
Mm,
whether it's talking with a friend, but having a safe space to get your feelings out is really powerful, because a lot of times we'll keep it inside, we won't share it. And that's what
mm,
gets at us, right? For me,
yeah.
it was the feeling of guilt and shame and frustration, overwhelm as a new mom. But I didn't want to say that because I had two blessings and I'm so thankful I was able to be home with them. And there was
Hmm.
this condemnation around those feelings.
Yeah.
But if I had a place to just get them out, I think that's what we need, is we need a safe space to just feel the feelings, because that
Yeah.
behavior is usually linked to feelings that we haven't processed.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I like that because, it's true. A lot of times we are not expressing ourselves the way we are supposed to because we are afraid. We are afraid, like you mentioned, you had the two kids, you were exhausted, you were tired, but you were even afraid to talk about it because you don't even want people to think that, why is she complaining? She should feel blessed because she has two kids. When in reality, you were drowning, you know?
And I was just telling a friend this week. Like, I feel like I know people mean well and their heart is good, but I would get so frustrated when people would say, "Oh, enjoy this. It goes by so fast." Because it made me feel, and these are my feelings, so I don't want to put that on them, but it was almost like, I know they were saying enjoy it because it goes fast. It does go fast. But when I was in that place and I was struggling, I just felt guilt because I wasn't enjoying
Join
it.
it. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like, hey, you have this, it's yours, have fun with it. And it's hard because you're struggling with it because nobody really teaches you how to do it. And that's another thing. So,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah. When in fact, probably if you had, overcome those guilt or that guilt, probably you would have, gone seeking for help. And that would have even made it better for you.
yeah,
I'm just saying this just so that a woman out there who is struggling now will not be afraid to seek help. You
absolutely.
shouldn't be afraid to ask for help. And it doesn't make us failures or weak women if we go asking for help. It rather makes us stronger because when we go seeking the help and we get that help, then we can be equipped with whatever we need to be able to move forward and be better at whatever we are struggling with. So we shouldn't be afraid. And I do agree with you that we have to replace that guilt with curiosity. Instead of us feeling guilty and keeping it to ourselves, we should probably be willing to open up, have a support system, have people that don't judge you, so that you can seek that help. Because I always say a lot of women are, you know, they have the facade on, we are smiling like everything is good, but in reality, we are not. We have a lot that we are dealing with, and we want to seek help when we need to. So I really do appreciate a lot of what you're talking about. um is there a biological component to this? Are there people who are more predisposed or genetically predisposed to this, or is it just a mindset thing?
I think it can be both, and because the reason I say that is when I was a baby, and I just told somebody else this week. It's kind of funny how God brings things back, but I remember my mom giving me Jello bottles as like an infant, which that's just pure sugar.
Mm,
So I'm
mm,
sure with sugar being addictive, because it's 8 times more addictive than cocaine, that having it at such a young age definitely, made my palate want it more, and I had that craving for it. But it would be curious, and I haven't researched this, to know the impacts of a mother's diet when she's pregnant, what that does biologically to her child.
mm.
Um, but I do think it's mindset as well. I think the fact that sugar is addictive, and I think a lot of food makers probably know that when they make our food and they sneak it in different ways. I think that's a
Yeah,
part of it. But I think some of it is also the mindset. And we, have the mentality in our society that, oh, I've been good. I need this reward. It's a treat.
yeah,
And we'll treat ourselves with a treat or sugar or latte or something And
Mm,
I think it's all kind of a mixed bag.
mm, 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 mm. All right. So what are some things that we can replace, what are alternatives, sugar alternatives that we can use? Because, of course, once in a while, we all want something nice. We have the holidays coming and everybody wants to have something sweet in a way. So, what can we replace sugar with, or what can we replace the white carbs with, which is more
Yeah.
healthy?
Yeah, I love that question because I'm a big proponent on it and not depriving, because I think when we
Yeah.
deprive, we get in the mindset of I can't have it and it makes us want it more.
Mm,
So I'm all about let's do this, let's healthify it, let's upgrade it, let's do some simple swaps. So I love coconut sugar because it's low glycemic, so it helps your blood sugar not go on that roller coaster.
mm-hmm.
Um, so I love coconut sugar. I love stevia,
Yeah.
honey is really good. Maple syrup is really good. There's a lot of really great sugar alternatives that you can use.
Mm,
And you a lot of times don't need as much as recipes call for. So if you want to kind of gradually, like, I don't know that I would do half because that could impact the flavor, but if you can, absolutely, there are some recipes that I just cut it in half. But maybe do, like, instead of a cup, do maybe 3/4 of a cup, just minimize
mm-hmm.
it a little bit because we don't need all that.
Yeah. 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 And how about the carbs?
The carbs, I'm a big proponent of complex carbs because
Mm,
those will also help your blood sugar. They're an energy source for your body because your body does need carbs. They're a macronutrient, meaning your body needs a lot of them because that's an energy source. So things like quinoa are great, oats are great,
mm.
sweet potatoes, trying to think what else, whole grains, like just really good sources of carbs that are not processed and have a lot of preservatives and added.
Yeah. 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 Great, great. So my last question is about, the woman who wants to start. She has identified that, hey, I have a problem. I think I want to seek help. But I don't know what to do next. I have the self-awareness. I'm not guilt tripping myself anymore. I know that, yes, maybe, for example, I've been harboring certain things in me and I want to seek help. What can she do to start moving forward or start her journey away from this?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think that awareness is often the first step. And that's where I think we can get hung up, right? Because we're
Mm,
like, I'm aware, I know that I have this problem. And then we think we need maybe a diet or a workout plan, but really, finding somebody who can navigate with you and help you change your habits, help you change your mindset, and help you understand why you react that way to sugar.
mm,
Um, Another woman I worked with who is so interesting because we had done a couple of coaching sessions and she was like, I didn't think that I was an emotional eater. I thought that that meant you had to be sad and you were using food to make yourself happy. But
mm,
for her, there were certain foods she was eating because she associated them to feeling happy and content in her childhood. So when she wasn't feeling happy and content in her adult life, she would go towards those foods looking for that feeling.
mm.
So I think just becoming aware and finding somebody who can navigate with you and journey with you to kind of connect those dots and change your habits, because that's really, I think, the end goal with the transformation is changing your habits and your mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot of mindset work too.
It
And I
is.
always say that we want to take baby steps. Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves. Yes, we realize, yes, that's a problem. We want to change it fast, but it might take a while. It's a journey. I always say it's a journey. All you have to do is to commit to it. There are times when you give up on it, the highs and lows, the days when you want to do it, days when you might think that, oh, I just had a relapse, or maybe I just went back to it. But just knowing that it's a journey and God is with you through your journey and he understands your challenges, because sometimes I think that we are so hard on ourselves as women and we feel like, there's this, thought of failure that a lot of women walk around with, the defeat, that's the word. We feel very defeated because we are struggling with things like this. But at the end of the day, there's light at the end of the tunnel. All we have to do is to not give up and keep pushing. I always say there's this thing I have on my Facebook. I always say consistency over perfection. It might not be a perfect journey, but as long as we still have that vision and we're like, yes, I want to do it. I want to move forward with it. I want to get healthier. I want to move on. We'll get there little by little, taking baby steps. So,
Absolutely. And I tell women with this a lot, and it's a really, I think it goes into agreement with what you're saying, Amma, is that small hinges open wide doors. I think a lot of times we negate the small things we do, but
mm,
those small things make a big impact. And especially when you build on them over time, I mean, that's where change happens.
yeah, 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 yeah. All right. So before you go, where can we find you?
My website is www.free, the number two, the letter B coaching.com. So it's free to be coaching.com.
Awesome. And on social media?
Happy Healthy Mama is my Facebook. I have a group, Happy Healthy Mama Tribe, and then
Mm-hmm.
my Facebook page is Happy Healthy Mama. So join one, join all, come and get support and encouragement because we all need that.
Yeah, yep, we do. We do. And what are your last words to us?
I just want women to know that you can be free because I remember being in that place of just overwhelm and exhaustion. And I felt incredibly stuck and I felt like there was no way out. I felt
Mm,
like I was always going to be hiding in the pantry, eating the package of Oreos to handle my feelings.
yeah,
And that's not true. There is always hope, there is freedom. God wants you to be free.
yeah,
And I think a lot of times, as women, especially of faith, we will pray and pray and pray. And I think sometimes God's asking us not only to pray, obviously, but to take partnership and take, an active role. Because if you think about the man who was, at the pool, what did he say? Jesus said, pick up your mat and walk. So I think
yeah.
we need to pray and pick up our mat and go forward. And there's hope. There's always hope.
I like that. Pray and pick up your mat and walk. Move forward. Yep. And on that note, I'd want to say thank you so much for your time, Melissa. I know you're a busy person, and I appreciate you taking time of your busy schedule to join us today.
Well, thank you for having me and thank you for what you're doing. I think this is definitely a blessing to so many women. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you so much for joining us today. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe because every week we're coming your way with strategies about everyday Christian living for women and strategies for you to move from burnout to balance. And today, my biggest take home is that we need to replace that guilt with curiosity. When we find ourselves struggling with, anything that we are using to numb ourselves, it could be anything from sugar, even smoking, alcohol, anything that we are using to numb ourselves and allow ourselves to feel good that we don't seem to have any control over. We need to move past that guilt and not allow the devil to guilt trip us and rather go to the place of curiosity. As Melissa said, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why is this happening? What's going on here? Because the insight that we get from that curiosity is what is going to move us forward and help us decide what to do next in our journey to move from the unhealthy lifestyle and to move from stress, burnout, overwhelm to a more balanced, healthy, and fulfilled life. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to see you next week. Take care of yourself. Bye.